everybody, Psychic Medium Angelo here, along with the Guru, the Encyclopedia Britannica of Pro Wrestling, my co-host, the affable, always happy, always smiling, Jeff the Ref Robinson. Jeff, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Really good. How are you doing there, Angelo?
I am wonderful. Listen, I just got to put a shout out right from the get-go here. Thank you to Davey O'Hannon. I want to hug you. Mm-hmm. Our numbers, like, literally skyrocketed in one day.
Yep.
I cannot believe the downloads that show got.
And that's, if I'm not mistaken, it's just off of our main platform, off of Podbean, that we're seeing this huge spike that isn't all the way around.
That's just off of Podbean. I don't know what iTunes or iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, and the aliens and Mars, we don't know what they're listening to either. But you know what? I mean, by golly, Podbean, thank you, Davey. Thank you very much. Bless you.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, and I left a message on his phone.
Yeah.
To let him know, if you think people forgot about you, brother, let me tell you something. You got a following you don't even know about, bro.
I'll tell you what, he would. You know, it's what I had told you, you know, when me and you were talking off the air earlier today. I mean, he may be wise. I know you said he does a couple of appearances, but he may be wise to try to hook up on more than just a couple a year. It sounds like he's well liked and well, you know, people are wanting to see him.
And respected. That's the big thing. He's respected.
I mean, I've gotten contacted from friends of mine in the business that have heard the episode, and they were laughing at the stories that we got him to tell.
Oh my God. I would love, Jay, can you imagine the stories between Davey O'Hannon and Cowboy Johnny Mantell, who, by the way, will be a guest on the show February 4th.
That is going to be crazy right there. I mean, just alone, because they were down in the Texas territories together, down there in
they
Dallas,
sure were.
And,
they worked Amarillo. Mm-hmm. They worked Dallas Fort Worth for a small bit. Oklahoma with Bill Watts.
Yep.
And that right there. There's a show right there.
Very, very well rounded and or well known. I mean, down there in Texas area. And I'm looking forward to actually having him on. I got familiar with his work a little bit later than maybe others. It was on when it used to come on ESPN. ESPN had the Legends of World Class, and that was how I was introduced to Johnny Mantell. And him doing, I want to say he did like a saddle angle where the loser had to wear a saddle around the ring or something.
Yeah. There's actually a clip of it up on YouTube.
Yeah. There, but I mean, he did more than just that. That was just something funny I remember him doing.
Yeah.
But he, very, very, very good guy in the ring. So
he's a hell of a worker too. He's a shooter.
Yeah. Now,
he'd stretch you if he wanted to.
Well, most of the old school guys could.
Absolutely. I think when we spoke to Davey, we gathered that. Even the smaller guys. You know, he talked about getting stretched by a guy that was, 215 pounds.
Exactly. So,
and here he was 260 at the time.
It's now, real quick, just a little bit of notes that have been going on here last couple days. Newsworthy notes. I believe it was Jimmy Uso. I don't know. I'm making sure I may be wrong on which Uso it was, but the Uso who had the DUI charge was found not guilty by a jury of his peers.
Okay. So, for people who don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, for our listeners in other countries.
Let me fill everybody in. I believe I think it was actually Jay Uso. Mm-hmm. It was Jay Uso was arrested.
And he wrestles as Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy?
Well, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One of the Usos, I can't tell them apart anymore.
No, they look alike. I mean, they are. They're twins. So
they were arrested and charged and fined but a court hearing was given, which was unusual in that case, because normally they would charge you, fine you, you'd pay your fine, and you'd be on your happy little way.
But he was charged with a DUI, and this would have been his second one.
Second time around. That's why they didn't let him go.
And because of that, but he was found not guilty. So
true.
Basically, he didn't really blow over the legal limit. All they had him on was speeding and swerving on the line. Well, when I've gone high rates of speed, I've been known to kind of wobble myself a little bit. So, I'm not making excuses for the man. I'm just saying he was found not guilty. That's cool. And hopefully
good for him,
Yeah, and here's the bad thing. This is what is kind of bad.
Before you get into that, let me ask you a question, really important question.
Yeah.
Does he still have a job?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was going to get at. Here's the bad thing, though, is when you're in a tag team like he is with his brother and his wife is part of the team as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when one member goes down, they all go down. So they've all been off of TV. And
that's Naomi, right?
What was that?
That's Naomi, right? The wife.
Yeah, Naomi. Yep.
Naomi.
Yep. And and basically what it was because he had the court case outstanding, his passport was being held. So he wasn't able to go to Canada or Europe or any of the tours.
Yeah,
he was and as crazy as it sounds, it was a good thing. It gave them a break off the road, refreshes them, makes the fans, happier when they come back. So,
and hopefully it give him a chance to think about the stupid shit that he's done.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that he has been advised to maybe go seek help if needed. So
now will he be entered into the wellness program?
No, the wellness program is that's like I said, he's been advised to go into a program of sorts. Wellness is when they pull you off and you violate it for drugs.
All right.
That's what they call the wellness program.
Jeff, that's a good point because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Whether that was drug, alcohol, or other kind of dependencies.
It's all drugs is what when they pop you for the wellness, as they have said, if they pop for alcohol, a lot of them would be screwed. But when they pop you for other drugs, you're okay. Yeah. And even crazier was Ryback recently came out and said half or the majority of the boys all smoke weed for pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
And he said what was funny is once the office kind of gets the clue that you may be a little bit of a pothead,
right?
They give you $2,500 fine. He said almost every month after that they start fining you. So you know what? Let me go ahead. I'm going to give our special guest here tonight a quick.
Well, before you do that, tell everybody who our special guest is.
Our special guest is an ECW.
I think people want to know that.
Our special guest is an ECW original. Now a member or recently seen on the NWA. He has made his way. He's done almost 30 tours of Japan. He is the one, the only C.W. Anderson.
All right.
All right. Let me go ahead. I'm going to bring him up and let me see what we got going on here.
All right. And so while Jeff is doing that, let me give everybody a heads up on what we've got coming on here. On February the 4th, just confirmed tonight, the Texan, Big Tex, Cowboy, Johnny Mantell. He'll be here on February the 4th. And I think Jeff is about ready to get CW on the phone.
Hey, brother, you able to go ahead and do this thing?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull you on. I'm going to introduce you, do the usual ECW original, now just recently seen on the NWA, and your current AML champion, Mr. C.W. Anderson. We're going to roll from there.
Jeff, he knows that.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I didn't know you lost it. So you must have lost it on night 3. Oh, you lost it to George. You lost it back to George. Okay. Okay. I am going to put over your series of matches that you've had with him, by the way.
Okay.
All right. You ready? Here we go. And my co-host, his name is Angelo, by the way. So, all right. Here we go. All right, Angelo, are you there?
I am here. Live person.
All right. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the one and the only ECW original, Mr. C.W. Anderson, former AML champion, recently lost that at WrestleCade to George South. And go ahead, C.W., how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, Jeff. And you forgot to mention that we were friends, so you forgot to throw that in there as well.
Well, I mean,
well, C.W., let me tell you something. First of all, this is Angelo here. Pleasure to know you.
Hey, Angelo, I can barely hear you, so I'm listening intently.
Okay.
Can you hear him now? A little bit better?
Where's he at?
Go ahead, Angelo.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I was just saying that, Jeff is a little long-winded. I told him, I said, keep it short and sweet, introduce the guy, let him come on, we'll talk to him, and he'll tell us about himself. Now I know everything about you and I don't have any questions.
Well, CW, I earlier when we were telling everybody that you were going to be coming on the show, I had mentioned you have done close to 30 tours of Japan. Am I correct on that one?
Actually, it's
50. 50?
Yeah. I just did my 50th one about 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow. That was when you and Karina were over there for the reunion, right?
Yeah, it's the 15-year reunion, so I would have put it in 2016, maybe.
Yeah.
They started in 01, hence the name 01. And Steve and I went back on their 15.
Wow. Now, you just got done with a recent series of matches with George South, who a lot of fans are probably familiar with. He goes back to the early 80s even. And, I mean, that was probably some of the most tremendous old school wrestling that I myself have seen in a very, very, very long time.
Thank you. That's what we tried to do.
I mean, that is, you can find that over on the AML website. Yep. And so real quick, why don't we just get down to the basics really quick? What year did you get started? When did you make your actual debut here with wrestling?
December 4th, 1993.
Wow. And who was your opponent?
Oh, my God. Something. He did a Valentine thing. That was a gimmick thing. It was just a Valentine. I remember that. I can't remember his first name for the life of me right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of disappointed because
it was my first official wrestling match.
Gotcha. I'm kind of disappointed because everybody remembers their first time,
Right.
Well,
everybody remembers their first time.
I'll tell everybody really quick. The first time I ever saw you in action was in Norfolk, and you're involved in a street fight with Pat Anderson and yourself against Steve Carino and Adam Flash.
Was that at the bowling alley?
Yeah, it was at the bowling alley, and y'all were the NWA World Tag Champs at the time.
Right. Right. God, that's ages ago.
I was like, I believe that was probably right around 96, 97.
Easily around 96.
Yeah.
Steve and I were really close then, and we haven't got any closer at ECW, but yeah, I remember that because we didn't get paid for it.
Of course not, because you were working with Dexter Holly.
Of course we were. Yep.
Now you got, everybody basically knows that you got there with ECW. Who kind of gave you your start there with the ECW? I mean, how did you get your, start over there with ECW?
I have to backtrack a little bit because
okay.
I was training people here right down the road from where I live at now, and one of my students was Brad Kane, who ended up being Lodi Raven's sign guy.
Yep.
Through that, one of his tag team partners on the Indies, his name was Curtis White. They called him Toad. He did a little bit near the end of WCW, called him Frog with GT13. Was another one of my students. Well, Toad got a tryout because of Lodi, because he asked Raven asked Dreamer, tryout. Well, the night before, which was a Saturday night, Toad and I wrestled Public Enemy, and he was going down to do the tryout in ECW, and he wanted me to go. I really didn't want to go. And he basically drugged me down there to the tryout. And he had his tryout, and I was catching up with Carino, because Carino had been in ECW about 6 months already. Nova, I introduced a bunch of people, Nova was one of them. And after Toad's tryout, which didn't go well, he was actually paired up with Hank from the Lords. Nova looks at me and wants me to get my gear. I get my gear on. To make a long story short, I got done with my little 5-minute match with Simon Diamond. Paul Heyman was sitting in the bleachers, told Bill Alfonso to get me back in the ring. I was in there for like another hour. At the end of it, I go in the bathroom because the door's open, and Paul Heyman walks back to find me and introduces himself, and we get to talking. Finds out that I'm at the WCW power plant, that I'm not under contract. Tells me not to leave before he speaks to me at the end of the night. And before the show starts, Jim Malno comes and gets me, and I walk backstage in the locker room, and Paul Heyman is sitting there with Vito LaGrassa, who was Skull on Crutch at the time, Danny Doyle and Roadkill, and he introduces me to him, tells me I'm tagging Skull on Crutch, and we're third match, and welcome to ECW.
Wow. Now
CW, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Had you known Stevie Carino before you got to ECW?
Yes, I met Carino the first year in the business at a local show in Greensboro, North Carolina. We were on a local indie show. And Steve walked by and said something funny, and I made a funny comment, and we clicked. We became friends that night, and we were close, and I traveled around with him on the indies, and we got even closer once we got to ECW. We're literally best friends. We've been best friends for 25 years.
And recently, if I'm not mistaken, you had a match with Colby, actually, didn't you?
I did. I had a fantastic match that you can find on the AML Wrestling Network or the High Spots Network in September. Colby fought me for my AML title, and it was a match of the year candidate, and along with my other one. It was so good that the commentators were clapping. It was like you could hear them go, man, what a match.
You had 2 matches that qualified for match of the year?
Oh yeah, easily.
I've had 4, 3 to 4.
This year alone. And I mean, this year has kind of, I would say, been kind of a career resurgence for you as far as everything that you've been doing with your, I mean, I don't know, the fans out there that are listening. I mean, you just recently appeared on the NWA Power Show, and with the new season that just started up, correct? Are you going to be getting a run with them? I said, are you going to be getting a run with them here, or what's?
I don't know. I filmed the next day at TV is another match of mine coming up that will be aired sometime in mid to late January. But I don't know. I hope so. I enjoy being there. They have a fantastic locker room. I was friends with Billy Corgan from ECW when he used to come hang out with me in ECW. So I got to see him again. Dave Lagana. They've put together a fantastic locker room. Very relaxed locker room. It's not uptight like other companies I work for, excluding ECW, of course. It's a great place to be. And the crowd, being in that studio environment was fantastic. And everybody was just talking about how lean I've gotten, how I haven't lost a step. People say I don't like I've aged. And, for people that haven't seen me, I'm down 205 pounds. My waist size is what it was in high school. I am the leanest I've ever been since my early 20s, and I will be 49 in a few weeks.
You are looking, I mean, I myself got to tell you, you are looking fantastic, brother. I mean, seriously, I don't know what your magic is that you're doing, but it's working.
CW, I remember a show.
I cut back on my food. I'm part of a company called Market America, where I supply and sell an isotonic product, which is basically powdered vitamins, and they're all top shelf. They're all tested. There's no pill forms where it takes 4 or 5 hours to digest. It instantly goes in your body because you mix it with water, which is basically sending like an IV. And between the few things that I've been taking, that's been the transformation. Since May, I've lost 40 pounds and 4 sizes off my waist. You know, like I said, the leanest I've gotten so far is 202 pounds, but right now I'm about 205.
Tell me what you remember. I'm going to take you back a little bit to, I think, around September of '99. What do you remember about the Anarchy Rules show, ECW? And I think it was...
Chicago. I debuted as a dark match with Danny Dorn and Roadkill. My partner was Bill Wiles. We weren't even a Dangerous Alliance then. And
yeah,
dark match. And I remember before Tommy Dreamer grabbed me before I went out, and he told me, "Okay, well, we're allowed to cuss on here because I said a couple cuss words."
Oh yeah, you can cuss. We're free.
Okay. Tommy grabbed me before we walked out, and he got right close. He said, "Look," he said, "you got this opportunity not because you're my friend." He said, "Because you're one fucking hell of a wrestler."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I want you to go out there, steal this fucking show, and stick it up their ass at WCW that they didn't sign you." He said, "Now go kill it."
Damn right.
Beautiful. Now, let me ask you, I have another question. Where did the CW come from?
It is my real name, which is Chris Wright, and when I became an Anderson in '93, my partner, the guy that became my partner, Pat, was an Anderson who got the name from Gene, because everybody knows Gene's legitimately the only real Anderson. And he was telling me that I had to come up with a 3-letter name because you had Arn, only there was Pat. So for a week or so, I come up with like Ike and Cal. That's the only names I could come up with. The baseball coach from Little League was a manager in the local promotion I wrestled for. And I said, his name was Randy Driver. And I said, "Mr. Randy, I don't have a name yet. I can't figure out what to call myself an Anderson." He said, "Just use your initials and call yourself CW." And it stuck. So then I got my CW hook, my famous hands. Said, "No, it's."
Oh yeah.
I got it. I watched Tom Casati come out one night doing the C, and it kind of hit me because I was a big fan of Tupac around. I still am, even though he's gone. But I was a big fan of Tupac, and he always did the West Side W, and I just kind of put the two together.
Yep. And then you do the throat slit afterwards, so it works.
Right. As an homage to Arn.
Yep. Which everybody I mean, I don't know how many people everybody and their mama probably knows this, but Arn did put you over on his podcast really well recently. So,
yeah. And I saw him at WrestleCade right afterwards. Went up and, I was standing behind somebody, and he peeked around, and the guy saw me and smiled, and I hadn't seen Arn in about 7 or 8 years. And I went up and shook his hand. He said, "Hey, CW, how you doing?" I said, "Arn, I'm doing great." I said, "First off, I really want to appreciate the kind words you said for me on your podcast." And he goes, "CW, you're certainly welcome." He said, "You're deserving of the Anderson name. It was a pleasure." And we just got to catching up and talking. Preston Quinn was with him, and my girlfriend Brittany was with me at the time. And he, met them. We took the picture, and we talked maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I didn't want to bother him. Didn't want to hold up anybody. Then we just went on about our way.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
It was really
well, I actually heard.
Kind words from Arn.
Yeah, CW. I actually heard that Arn is pretty protective of that Anderson name. And
when I went to the power plant, I was scared to death as coming as a CW Anderson. So I kind of kept the Anderson thing low. I mean, the people that got to know me knew me. I was running as the Anderson, but I didn't want to heat with Arn. And then once I got to ECW, Paul, who was used to manage Arn, give Arn a call and talk to him. And Arn watched some of my work on TV. And Paul and Tommy said, we got the idea of giving CW and Bill Wiles the Dangerous Alliance moniker, copying you and Bobby Eaton, and we're going to put Lou with them, and Lou's going to mock me, and we want to know if it's okay if CW can run with the Enforcer moniker. And Arn give his blessing to take the Enforcer moniker, and I remember his word was, "I hope CW has better success with it than I did."
Wow, beautiful. I've got a question for you. You've been around. You're working on your 25th year now. Okay, that's a long time to be wrestling. And you're still a relatively young man. I want to know what you've seen change over the years from when you started to now. Is it better? Is it worse?
The culture, it's gotten, in my opinion, it's kind of gotten worse and more dangerous. There's more going on now. You have to do more in the ring. You have to be almost more of an acrobat. There's no such thing.
They don't slow down.
If you go out and watch a match, go out and watch mine and George South's match.
Yep.
The three we've had, and compare it to some of the stuff you see on TV nowadays.
Even you and Colby's match.
Yes.
You know, CW, I got to tell you.
Out of our hands and weren't doing anything. Today's wrestling, and look, the guys are tremendous athletes. They're tremendous wrestlers because of the things they can do, the things they can remember. But a lot of them's careers, unfortunately, going to be short because you can't keep that pace up and keep doing that for the years.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you look at, years ago, they told Matt and Jeff that, their careers are going to be, and Edge and Christian were going to be cut short because of their TLC matches that they had. And you look at Edge and Christian retired, Matt's almost on his way out. Jeff is definitely beat up. And you look at what the guys are doing today. And like you said, they are tremendous athletes and everything else. But you can't keep on doing apron bumps and not expect to have your career shortened by at least 5 or 10 years.
Oh, easily. I always tell people when I train and teach seminars that we all have a bump card, and one day your bump card is going to be filled up, and it's not going to take much. I thought mine was years ago when I had liver failure and blew my back out, but I was blessed enough to have great genetics to recover from it.
CW, I've got a question for you along those lines, because what you're saying ties directly into this question. We know that taking unnecessary risks can shorten your career, but now we're seeing the women do incredibly dangerous things, and to the point where the wrestling hurt, which is a no-no, and you know that. You never wrestle hurt. And I don't like what I'm seeing with the women. Do you have an opinion or a thought about what the women are doing to their bodies these days? I mean, look, just the other day, we saw a woman damn near out on her feet trying to go through a table.
Talking about the TLC match.
Yeah, which I think Charlotte, right? Charlotte Flair.
When she got the concussion.
Yeah. That's what I'm referring to. Yep.
Yeah, we were talking. We actually at the NWA, we had a 2-hour meeting about the concussion protocol. About that. Well, not particularly about that, but what happens when we get a concussion, and because we're all brothers in there, and we as men, and I'll get to the women's thing, but we as men try to be tough guys and try to fight through it, because I know I've done it. I've been knocked dizzy in those matches and continued.
I may have reffed a few of them.
Yeah, the women's wrestling has gotten really good. They're trying to compete on the levels with the men, because sometimes men don't take the women's wrestling seriously, and they've come a long way, and I applaud those women because they're tremendous athletes and again tremendous wrestlers, and the unnecessary risk. But it all stems back to, because a lot of times people, and even in they say it started at ECW because of the things we were doing, the chair shots, because we used to get heat if we put our hands up. 15 of my 20-some concussions are coming from Balls Mahoney's chair shot, and I was told, to not put my hands up because it looked more real.
By the same token, though, ECW
evolving with what we know and what we can take from our bodies, and it's unnecessary risk. Because I tell people this: you go out there and you kill yourself. You can't do it on a nightly basis, because that's why people get hooked on painkillers, alcohol, different things. The fans they won't care. They don't care about you to an extent. At the moment, you're a god to them. You're larger than life. But they're going to forget about you when they go home. But they don't care that you got to ride in a car for 3 hours and you're all banged up, or if your leg's broke or your nose is busted or anything. They don't care. They just care to see you perform, and that's why we go out there and wrestle hurt, because that old saying with wrestling, the show must go on. And I wrestled hurt. I wrestled my back out. I wrestled for months with a fractured ankle.
I mean, I can recall recently. I mean, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, where you had the match with Too Cold Scorpio, where he landed wrong on you, no fault on either one of your parts. And I mean, you got knocked silly, and that.
I feel like I got knocked unconscious.
Yeah. I shouldn't say knocked silly. Yeah, you were knocked unconscious. And even watching that video, I remember I texted you right after I saw it. I was like, "Holy shit, are you okay?" You know, like it was just scary.
With that, it was a. You know, I don't know why Scorpio did the move. He told me he wasn't going to do it because the ring was unsafe. The padding was sliding around everywhere. And if you look up, if you go on YouTube and search C.W. Anderson gets knocked unconscious, that's the video they're talking about. And when I went, I wasn't laid down properly. And when I laid my head down, it was against plywood. And the last thing I remember is Scorpio going up. I'm looking at the vision of it right now, but knocked me unconscious. You see my wife dive in. You hear Steve Carino say, "Turn the camera off." I was knocked unconscious for 7 minutes. My lips turned blue after like 2 or 3. After that, I had memory loss for 9 months, and I stuttered for 9 months.
Yeah. CW, I have a question for you.
Scorpio holding my head, and my wife literally throwing up.
Wow. I've got a question for you. I've been in situations where I've seen wrestlers refuse to wrestle in an unsafe ring. Do you not have the right to refuse to wrestle in a ring that is unsafe?
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Just going to go out. We took it a lot. Scorpio, when Scorpio and I wrestle, we wrestle kind of strong style because both he and I were real big in Japan over there for a while, and we actually were taking that match a little easy. And for some reason, it's a fluke accident. It happened. I was laid wrong. I was positioned, angled, with my head against the wood. If it had been against the mat, it probably just give me a concussion. But we have the right to say no. And after that incident, I will not wrestle. If they got padding going everywhere, there's boards popping up, and because guys are too damn cheap to buy a good ring or to rent a good ring.
Hey, thank you. And I brought that up because I've actually seen it happen. I've actually seen. I saw a show where the plywood actually popped up from the canvas. You could see the outline of the wood, and I thought to myself, somebody's going to kill themselves.
That's crazy. He the promotion that Angelo is familiar with up there is you may have actually been up there a couple times, is the dog promotion, DAWG in Jersey.
I don't know if I have or not.
I was thinking you may have done NWA Dog back at some point in your in all your years.
All these years, all the letters kind of run together.
Yeah, I know. That's
exactly.
It kind of runs together, doesn't it? Like,
exactly.
I was going to ask you when you said you were down there at the power plant. I'm assuming you were trained by Sarge, correct?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd been wrestling about 6 years before I went to Sarge. Let me take that back. 5 or 6 years, and he kind of just took everything I knew and fine-tuned it.
Yeah. Yeah. He
kind of took me under his wing, and it got to the point where he was actually having me train guys.
Wow, down there?
Yeah, he would be working out with Goldberg or different guys like that, and I was working out with the Natural Born Thrillers.
Wow.
Wow.
Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, those guys, teaching them things.
Now
I'm the one there being trained.
Well, I got to ask you. You mentioned Goldberg. I mean, he has got a reputation in the business, for various things. What was your opinion of him way back then, if you even have one? I mean, like.
I really don't. I didn't really get to talk to Bill when he would come in. He came. The one time that I do remember him coming in was during my tryout when all the marks were there trying out with me, and they ran us outside because they didn't want to, expose the business, so they put us outside. But I had met Bill a couple times in Japan, and the few moments I've gotten to speak to him, he's been very cordial and very nice. I have no ill will because he's treated me with respect.
Well, there you go. Now I got to ask. You actually have had the honor of the moniker of the Extreme Horseman that you originally did, if I'm not mistaken, with MLW. Is that where y'all got your start pretty much with that, the Extreme Horseman?
No, actually, it was in Dusty Rhodes' TCW
down
in Georgia. Dusty set myself, Steve Carino and Barry Windham down one day, and he goes, he has an idea of forming a faction with us three. He says, CWU and Steve came from the Extreme, and Barry was an original Horseman, so I thought about calling you guys the Extreme Horseman. So, we loved the idea and kind of ran with it, and then we took it over to MLW, and that's where we gained notoriety with it, was at MLW.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry, I forgot that he had gotten it down there with Dusty, but...
Yeah, and that's when Barry had kind of quit wrestling, so even at ECW, Steve and I and Simon had an idea of being a team at ECW because we all three were so close, and then we got the chance at MLW.
Right, and then people can actually, again, I was going to plug it. You can look it up on YouTube. Y'all had one of the most brutal War Games matches out there. I mean, they actually start making the clips start floating around again when War Games just happened recently with the WWE. And I was just going to ask you really quick, what was it like being in that ring with Terry Funk? I mean, I know you've been in there a couple times, but he is definitely a one of a kind, isn't he?
And I just told this at NWA last week. Terry's like the only man I'm legitimately scared of in wrestling. If you watch the War Games, he beats me with a kendo stick, and I am legitimately running from him. I'm not sitting there selling because it hurts so bad. He throws a wooden chair across two rings and hits me in the wrist. Then there's one part he comes and he has his hands wrapped in barbed wire, and Terry Funk's holding me down with my shirt or his shirt or something, and I'm trying to get up and run from him because I knew Terry was going to beat my ass.
CW, we had Davey O'Hannon on 2 days ago, and he told us a Terry Funk story from his days in Texas. Without repeating it here, I'm going to let Jeff know. Jeff, when you talk to CW off the air,
yeah,
tell him that story.
Oh, I will. It's pretty fun. Terry played a pretty funny rib on the guy. He was the real man, and they had a 350-mile trip down there in Texas, and Terry said that he was more over than basically than Davy Crockett himself, and so it's a pretty funny story there. Now, during your tours of Japan, that was all with 01 when you did your 50 your 50 tours that you did over there. Who, out of just curiosity, I'm not good with the Japanese names, but is there anybody that the fans would recognize today that you were, in the ring with Japanese wise? Because I know that the New Japan is starting to really make some headway here in the States.
Masato Tanaka was one.
Yep.
Because he did his infamous matches with Mike Awesome and ECW.
Yeah.
If you're a Japanese fan at all, you know who Shinya Hashimoto was. He was our boss, and he was the top guy there.
Mm-hmm.
Igazu Hidaka did some stuff at ECW. He was there with us in 01. That's pretty much. You might know Shinjiro Otani from his New Japan, with when he was doing the Super Juniors and stuff with Chris Benoit and Eric Guerrero.
Yeah.
But those are probably the main ones you would know.
I mean,
I got to share the ring with.
Now, I think everybody probably associates your name with Tommy Dreamer and your infamous I Quit match that you had. And that was, that thing is, a lot of people have actually said, I've even seen it, online, people have said that's probably even better than the Magnum and Tully. Did you guys try to pattern yourselves after that match, or were y'all just kind of going in there and doing your own thing?
A little bit of both. The week of, when I was doing cardio a week, and I watched that match over and over and over, just the psychology of it and the style. I don't know personally, Magnum and Tully's, for what it was worth it. People say ours and Magnum and Tully's is the two best ever, and it's a debate on who the best is. And I would never put myself as the best at all. To me, it's always going to be Magnum and Tully's match. I think with more time, Tommy and I could have eclipsed it, or could have gotten, I don't know, with more drama, because our feud was rushed because it was the ending of ECW, even though we didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
But we did go in there and just kind of wing a lot of stuff to throw it together. And the one thing, it's the great thing about that match was it happened on January 7th, 2001, which was my 30th birthday.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, January 7th, my birthday. I was born in 71, so Cliff's 30 years old. And what, where you say you were at on your 30th birthday, I was having my most iconic match that people are talking about 20 years later.
Yeah, you're main eventing a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And
we weren't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, CW. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
We weren't main. I think that the heavyweight, we were somewhere. We weren't even semi. We were near the end, but nobody knew, because there was a bunch of people think that Tommy and I couldn't pull it off because I quit matches are so hard to pull off, and nobody's had a good one since Magnum and Tully to some extent. I think Flair and Funk had a good one.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, our driving force was to have the match of the night, and it clearly was. My other iconic memory from that match is I'm standing in the. Tommy tells me beforehand, if we have a good match, I'm going to shake your hand. If we don't, then he didn't really say anything. But he shakes my hand as he leaves the ring. 3,000 fans are standing on their feet, applauding me, chanting, "See fucking dub, see fucking dub."
Yep.
That's what people started doing for me. I got it at the ECW arena when I worked Super Crazy, and then I got it there, and it was getting to the point where I was starting to get over as a babyface just before, even though I was a heel, my work, they would write by me in magazines saying that, no matter what show you go to at ECW, CW Anderson is not going to have a bad match.
That is the
CW, I've got a question for you. Jeff has been teasing me all day with some kind of huge announcement you have here, and he's kayfabing me, and I'm chomping at the bit. I want to know what this huge announcement is.
It was going to be him being on the NWA. I didn't know that that episode had aired yet. That was it. That was the big deal. So.
Yep. Oh, the opening show on episode 10 of the NWA. The villain.
When I called to confirm him to come on the air, he happened to be there shooting it, and he answers it. I hear this commotion. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make this quick. And then I thought I had cut him off. That was funny. I had to text him back, and I was like, brother, I didn't mean to cut you off. If I did, he was like, no, I'm at the NWA TV tape. And I was like, oh, shit, congrats. So,
Well, congratulations, brother.
Yeah, that was.
Thank you.
Now, I mean, I personally, I would love to see, and I don't want to, release anything because I know that they pre-tape and everything else. I think that there's nothing more fitting than an Anderson name and the TV title that go hand in hand. I'm not asking you to divulge anything, but that's just my personal opinion, CW, that the Anderson name needs to go with the TV title. They got the TV title tournament, so it would just kind of be fitting in my opinion. But now I was going to ask you also, during your ECW days, Paul Heyman is infamous for his Kool-Aid speeches. How true is that?
100%.
100%. Okay. So
he is notorious for making you believe and follow him into hell.
Yes, sir.
Through his teeth.
Because to this day, he does owe you a portion of money. At
he owes everybody money.
Hang on, what was that number again, C-Dub?
55,000.
And would you still work for him if he opened up a promotion tomorrow?
More than likely.
Everybody says that. Shane Douglas has put it out there, so I'm not telling tales out of school. Says Paulie owes him $144,000, but he'd work for him tomorrow.
Yep.
What is it about his enigmatic energy, his this force field around him, that he just draws people to kill themselves for him? What is it about this guy?
I look equivocated to imagine. Have you seen the movie 300 with
yes.
about the Spartan Army?
I sure have.
Okay. Remember the speeches that Leonidas would give them before they go into battle?
Yes, sir.
Pumped up? Yeah, that's Paul Heyman. And it's true everywhere. And he would give us these speeches guys to go out there and kill your damn self for these people. And then, a lot of times in the beginning, I was opening match, and to stand there and to hear that ECW bong hit and know you're going to be the first one to walk through that curtain, holy hell, man. No. It is an unbelievable feeling. You would jump off a building because you could get hurt.
I got a question for you about that, because I never thought about this until you just brought it up. It used to be that the opening match was looked at as what they used to call the curtain jerker. It was not it was not the place you wanted to be. But more and more guys are wanting that first spot. Tell me about the pressure or the anticipation of what it's like to be in that first spot.
Your adrenaline is at an all-time high. There's no drug that can compare to that adrenaline rush. And the reason a lot of guys want that spot is the crowd is hot for wrestling. They haven't seen anything. They haven't seen any moves. You can go out there and do an arm drag, and they're going to pop for it. That's why they want that spot. And at ECW, they're crazy. They were crazy, ravaged. I mean, everything. And you go out there when that music hit, and God knows, man, the feeling was unbelievable. The adrenaline rush to get that. And I got that again with Shane Douglas's first House of Hardcore. No, I'm sorry, that's the Trigger's thing. Hardcore Homecoming. When they brought it back at the ECW Arena, and myself, Simon Diamond worked, Chris Chetty, and Mikey Whipwreck, and the electricity was so hot when Simon and I stepped through the curtain. We were shaking and almost emotional. It was everything we could do to keep it calm. And when we get in the ring, Chetty and Mikey get in the ring with us, and Simon looks at me and he says, "We might as well take it home right now. It don't get any hotter than this."
Exactly.
The crowd was seething for us.
Wow.
See, now, I got a question for you. You mentioned earlier on in the show, you mentioned working with George South. He's a guy that we've reached out to come on the show. He seems like a nice guy, but he also seems like a very intense individual. Tell me a little bit about George. George South.
George is, I've known George for a long time, but until I started working at AML, I never got as close to him, and especially once I started sharing the ring with him. He is one of the most underrated people I've ever been in the ring with. One of the smartest I've ever been in the ring with. He was able to call 3 20-minute matches with me. They all be different, and we all not do one move out of the 80s. He's intense about the passion for the business. He is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. But his knowledge is unprecedented for this business. When I worked him a few Sundays ago, I'm sitting there watching him pace back and forth, knowing what he's doing in his head is getting his stuff together to call this match. And I'm enamored. I'm enamored by George. And he doesn't like stupid people in this business, asking stupid questions. That's where he gets his intensity from. It's just, the disrespect for professional wrestling. But he is out. This man will give you the shirt off his back. I could talk 30 minutes about George South, but I've actually wanted to go to his school and learn under him. And I've actually wanted to ride the roads with him to learn to do what he can do in the ring. Because somebody said the first time George and I wrestled, they had the people watching, and the promoter said, "I want you to take a look at this." They said, "Everybody knows those two men in the ring," talking about George and I. He said, "When's the last time you've ever been in a ring with C.W. Anderson and he not called a match?"
That's true.
Wow. That's pretty remarkable.
And that's the trust I have for George South. And for me to let somebody else call it, yeah, that's a rarity.
And you actually threw a very rare drop kick.
I've actually been throwing several drop kicks because at 205 pounds now, I can actually get up.
There you go.
I think I can count on one hand how many times I've actually seen you throw one in your career, and I've known you a good portion of your career. And We'll say it's a thing of beauty.
It's different.
Yeah. Now, I mean, George South is so. I mean, he's honest to God, old school through and through. But you're right. He does. I mean, his love and passion comes through whenever you hear him even just talk about it. And he does have a respect for the business, for what it was and what it could be and what it should still be. That isn't as guarded and protected by a lot of these younger guys. And I'm not putting down the younger guys at all, but they don't protect it like we used to even.
No, not one.
Now, I mean, I got to ask you, I mean, some people may know, some people may not. You were briefly part of the WWE's resurgence of ECW.
Yes.
And you actually got to wrestle CM Punk. Now, that was your second time, I believe, because you'd faced him once in ROH, right?
Yes. First time. It was my only TV match.
Was that match with them on the ECW? What was that like? I mean, how I hate to use the word, but how bastardized did they make their water down that ECW version with WWE?
Well, Jeff, I've got a question. I want to know how close he was to actually signing.
He was. You were actually signed, weren't you?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, you were? Okay, yeah, unfortunately, okay.
The only thing...
Well, that answered the next question.
Well, I was going to say the one joke that me and CW used to have, he knew I used to get the 24/7 when it was on cable. And I'd say, okay, CW, you got a residual coming because they aired one of your matches. And he would laugh and say, okay, I got a $5 check coming. So...
Yeah.
Now, do you still even get a residual from them with the WWE Network being in place now, or?
No, I don't. I haven't gotten one in years.
Man,
I wasn't there long enough to earn some of the things like some of them get on a yearly basis. But I used to get one every year.
Right.
And it's been a few years since I've gotten one.
Right.
But yeah, to go back to your question, they definitely watered it down after the first night at the ECW Arena. It was supposed to be Paul and Tommy's baby again, and then Vince took it back over and brought his guys over, and it was never, I once that happened, I didn't want to be there anymore. I couldn't get out of there fast enough at the end of the night, and when I wasn't used, I'd sneak out and go to the next town. And it was a miserable 10 months that I was there.
Yeah,
I'm glad the day John Laurinaitis called and fired me.
Not too many people say they were happy to get fired unless they really were. And I mean, I was going to ask you about that time when you were there. Just had Tommy and Paul been able to maintain it, do you think that you would have been a vital part of that, or do you think that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tommy told me when he called me that day to hire me. He said I was going to be their top heel.
Wow.
It was going to go back like it was. I said that's the only reason I signed, because he told me him and Paul had complete control. And the first night at ECW Arena, Sabu and I worked, so that was big for me. And then, somewhere around the middle of it, Paul had a little more control. He was push me again. So I started getting wins over Stevie Richards and Shannon Moore. And I don't know. After that, I worked CM Punk one time, and I hurt my back working Kevin Thorne in Oklahoma City, and I was done. I didn't want to go back.
Man, it was. I mean, it was so sad to actually see, knowing what ECW had been and what they did to it, and having been a fan of ECW myself and everything that there was. I was going to touch on you with that.
Well, Jeff, let's be honest about it. The WWE did the ECW what they do to everything they touched. They fucked it up.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that was the whole intention to bury it.
Exactly. Exactly. You're the only person that I've ever heard CW answer it honestly and forthright. They wanted to bury it.
Because we were getting so much steam. We were getting more notoriety being sold on DVDs and stuff like that than what their company was. And then there was talk about us coming back. And that was Paul's thing. I mean, Vince's thing from the beginning was to put his guys in there and bury ECW. Think
about how history has repeated itself. You now have NXT, which is their, for all intents and purposes, their developmental brand, pulling bigger numbers than their flagship shows.
Yeah.
Do you watch NXT now? I mean, do you watch any of the new stuff out there, the AEW or NXT? I mean,
I watch some of AEW. I watch some of NXT. I usually watch more of their big shows right before the WWE pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I for some reason I'll watch it, but I don't watch it. You know?
No, I get it.
I've been watching
I get it.
I can't. I can't fathom.
Well, I mean, I was wondering with Steve, because I know Steve is very well associated down there with NXT as one of the. He's an agent and a trainer down there, correct?
He is.
Yeah. He I think he's doing a tremendous job. I mean, it looked like he agented one of the NXT women's very first women's only shows recently. So, that tends to be, I mean, I think Steve's doing a really good job down there with them. I was just wondering.
Yeah. Amazing job.
Yeah. Now I got to ask you this: if you were asked to come down there as a guest trainer, even for Steve, would you do it?
Oh, as a guest, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a question for you. You know, CW, there comes a point in every wrestler's career when they got to think about life after wrestling. Is your thought process even remotely near there yet? And have you given thought to what life without wrestling would be? Or do you want to somehow keep yourself involved in the business, maybe opening up a school or a training center somewhere?
I don't know if I want to open up my own school anymore. I've done that, and it's a really big headache. I've actually been thinking about how much longer I'm going to do this. I've had developments in my life in the past 6-7 months. It's made me really think hard about my future as a wrestling and 10, 15 years down the road. And I don't know. I thought at one time, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I said I was going to wrestle until I was 50. And, I'll be 49 next month, in a few weeks, actually.
Yeah.
But I've never imagined I'd be in this kind of shape. I never imagined my career would have this kind of resurgence at 48 years old. People tell me I don't look like I've aged. So as long as I can still perform at the level that I'm performing at now, I'm still going to do it. And
well, you look terrific, I got to tell you.
I don't want to walk away from this business injured to where I can't walk.
Right.
Exactly.
Walk away under my own power.
Well, I mean, I know that Arn Anderson, somebody had even asked once, they were on his podcast that he does, that they were asking him about the spinebuster, even delivering it, and he said it does torque your hips in a very, very bad way. Eventually,
and my left knee is. Recently, I've been noticing when I land with it, I don't say I dread giving that spinebuster, but when I'm in the midst of it and I'm going down, I'm bracing because I know once I hit that left knee, it's going to be a crazy impact because nobody that gives a spinebuster, and I love Arn and his, but not even he got the torque off of it that I do because I can even either stand up to my feet or I can spin around 360 degrees off of it.
Yep.
So my body takes this tremendous torque off from
it. I mean, that is your spinebuster next to Arn's is probably the prettiest I've ever seen, if not even better. And that's not me just saying it because I'm your friend. I mean, seriously, I'd argue for fans to actually compare the two. And I mean, Jesus Christ, it's
yeah, an honest comparison because a lot of them. This is the thing that infuriates me with the wrestling fan is they put Carl Anderson, Ron Simmons, The Rock, Triple H. They all put their spinebuster up there, and they're not that good.
Nope.
They're not even in my league.
Nope.
And they won't even. Mine's not even up there because I don't have the name notoriety of those guys. And I have spinebusters now that literally, when I used to give him the balls Mahoney, he would stand me back to my feet. And I have them on my Instagram page and Twitter where I'm spinning and popping up, 3-4 feet off the air from it. Nobody has the recoil, and it doesn't look as good as mine does.
That's the guy's honest truth. That's not him just bragging on himself. That is, I mean, I would challenge anybody out there to go and watch it and try to say that it looks like crap. You can't. I mean, it's you know. Now, what are you up to right now these days? I mean, I know that you've been working with AML. Is that like pretty much them and maybe the NWA is looking like possibly if they, you know, for the next season, anything else coming up or any tours to Japan, anything like that?
Nothing of Japan lately. AML is my full-time, well, you know, my monthly gig with those guys. I work for Big Time Wrestling when they come around the area a lot. So
that's with Tony Hunter, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Steve Perkins, their promotion. So that's pretty much it. I just try to stay as busy as I can.
Yeah. You. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you what. You've been doing a tremendous job as far as like you know, the resurgence that you've been having and looking great out there. I mean, I when I put you over, even on Facebook, that's not me just putting you over because I'm your friend. I mean, seriously, you look better now than when I last saw you in VCW, you know, live in person. And that is just, it's awesome. So
I got a question.
Well, I was going to tell you, CW, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for the night, but we would love to have you on again sometime here in the near future. Because I know, you know, we got, you know, people got the Christmas holiday that we're all getting ready for and all that good stuff. So first of all,
I'll tell you what, I would like to, before we say goodnight to CW, I would like to extend an invitation to CW Anderson. And also I would love to have George South with him.
If we can make that happen, that would be really cool.
I would definitely talk to George about that.
I appreciate that, man.
If we can make that happen, brother, I'm gonna treat you to the biggest slice of New York pizza you ever had.
I think if George knew that I was coming on, he would actually do it with me.
Well, I mean,
put it out there.
Me and you will get together and we'll figure that out and maybe get you with George and we'll kick that around and see what we can make happen here in the next year. So, but anyway, on that note, where can the fans reach you on you said you got Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. Where can they find you at?
Everything is ECW Anderson.
There you go. Simple.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. I really do appreciate it. And, you know, and Jeff, thank you for setting this up. This was all you, babe.
You know what? I appreciate. I've known CW for damn near over 20 years, and I've been in the ring with him as a referee. You know, me and him have, you know, we've shared a lot of even personal phone calls. You know, and just in life in general, he's a great friend of mine. I can't thank him enough. You know, thank you very much for coming on here tonight. I really appreciate it, CW.
You're welcome, buddy.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family, all right?
All right, Merry Christmas, guys. And everybody that's listening, thank you so much for all the years of being a fan. Without you, I'm nothing.
Thank you, CW. You have a great night.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night. Great interview with CW Anderson. And congratulations on joining NWA Power.
Yeah.
That's a big one, Jeff. That's big.
I'll say, you know, I got, as you know, I got my wrestling collectibles out there. Probably one of the things that I hold near and dear to my heart is one of his ring use singlets that he wore on a couple of ECW pay-per-views. And, you know, to actually, and you know, what sold me, he gave it to me. And for anybody in the business to have another wrestler give you something, that says a lot.
Yeah, sure it is.
You know, I you know, he's a great friend of mine, and you know, I couldn't thank him enough. So,
I want to say a personal thank you to you for setting that up. But like I told, I'm going to share something with everybody listening. I told Jeff the ref, this is his baby, it's his episode, and I was going to pretty well stay quiet except for a couple of questions. And so did I keep my word?
Oh, I think that I enjoyed that one very much. And he's a great guy. I mean, you could just tell.
He's a very humble man.
He is
very
extremely. And we again just touch on his ECW there when we could. I mean, didn't even touch on his WWE run. Tell me that wasn't funny. His comment about he was glad he got fired.
Yeah, right. I never heard anybody express it with such candor and honesty. That was beautiful.
He doesn't tread that line, and he knows he doesn't have to.
Let me ask you a question. So you've known this man for over 20 years. It's probably like 22 years, right?
Oh yeah, at least.
So how did you actually meet?
I was a ref for him in the ring.
Oh, you refed for him. Okay.
Yeah, I refereed for him and Steve Carino back when they were getting started down there in Carolina, and we were all running the roads together, and they happened to be at the same show I was on, and got to know them there, and it was a lot of just bumping into each other, here and there, and then
I got to tell you, and I thought about this when he was talking. I thought it's funny that Steve Carino, a guy from Philadelphia, had to go down south to make a name for himself.
I know.
It's strange.
Well, I mean, back when he did, though, that was, as crazy as it is, that was, Carolina was the hotbed. And that's really where you needed to be to get kind of noticed. Look at the name.
Was that one when Crockett was still pumping out pretty strong?
No, that you're talking right. 96, 97.
Oh, after Crockett.
Yeah. And what it was, you had WWE and WCW warring, and they started just handpicking indie talent wherever they could.
Yeah, true enough. I forgot that. You're right.
But you had Matt and Jeff who were down there. Matt and Jeff knew Steve and CW. They had their Omega promotion that we were all actually part of, myself included.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which another one that me and him didn't even talk about was the Omega, and him and Matt and Jeff and Shannon Moore and the North Carolina connection, I guess you would call it. But they all, slowly but surely, everybody was getting handpicked almost out of there, and it was. I mean, during that time, you could almost guarantee there was not. If you weren't working steadily on the weekend, you were doing something wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we were all
there were shows everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, the indies were picking up like they are now. I mean, back then.
I'll tell you, and I'm sure you'll tell me what it was like in Virginia, but I'll tell you here in Philadelphia, you could, on any given weekend, you could see 4 or 5 shows
easily.
Period, and that was no exaggeration at all.
Well, here's the deal: here in Virginia, because of the athletic commission,
right,
they didn't run as many indie shows like VCW or the Virginia Wrestling Association. They were like the primary Virginia independent.
Yeah.
But down in North Carolina, they had no rules. And when I say no rules, you could do whatever you wanted and let loose. Uh-huh. And I mean, I did a show once. We did one show. What's that?
Outlaw shows.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big time outlaw. But we actually, I mean, I doubt CW. He does have good recall, but we did one show where we were outdoors on a car lot, RV lot, in the middle of the summer, like 100 degrees.
Oh my God.
And they had set the ring up, and the ring itself was probably about baking at about 115. Like literally the guys would take the bump and go home. Like it was, oh yeah. I mean, like I'm going down there to make the count. I'm going 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Remember the show WWE did in Vegas at Caesar's Palace? They said It was what was it like WrestleMania or Royal?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. WrestleMania.
They said the ring was like 130 degrees.
Yep. Yeah, it was
taking bumps and going home.
Yeah, that was the Caesar's Palace. That was I myself hated outdoor shows. I never had a good time.
I've done a couple of outdoor shows for NWA Jersey. I was their ring announcer and I did some office work for them. And we did an outdoor show, a couple of them, on the beach. Imagine this now, Jeff. On the beach in Wildwood, New Jersey.
That's crazy. I know that there was, we were talking to George South, and he talks about this in his book, and he actually has a picture. He did a show with him and the Italian Stallion in a ring that was on a floating dock.
I saw that. I know about that.
That is, you talking, that's craziness right there. I mean,
yes,
I'll tell you what, though, my boy George there, that CW was, I mean, he wasn't talking about school.
I'd have two of them on. I really would.
I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah.
But it was I'll tell you, talking about outdoor shows. I mean, like I said, Latino Heat just came in here really quick, but he even said, yeah, he did what I was saying, because one of it was the very first show that me and Latino Heat did together, and we drove down there, 5-hour drive.
We should tell everybody that you're talking about Latino Heat. He's the producer of this show.
That's right. That is our esteemed producer.
Credit on our opening and closing credits.
Yes, he does. And he says, Feliz Navidad to everybody.
So if the show sucks, blame Latino Heat.
There you go. You popped him over there.
Well, Jeff, what do we got going on social media? Well, tell me what's happening here.
Oh man, we're getting new followers every day on our Twitter, which is found at Wrestling with the Future. Our Facebook page, you can find us over there. YouTube, but I mean, social media wise, yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of a headway out there. We're starting to get noticed.
Yeah, I just want everybody to know that thanks to you, we have actual downloads now literally in the thousands. Blowing my fucking mind.
I mean, you know what? As I said earlier to you all, today, we are the little podcast that could, like the little engine that could.
Yes,
we're gonna keep on chugging ahead, and I mean, in the coming year and the new year alone, we got some tremendous guests lined up that we have mentioned. But we'll tell once again, January the 14th or January 11th. I don't know. Anyway, we got Baby Doll coming up. That is going to be an awesome show when we have Baby Doll. I'm looking forward to that.
January 16th, Jeff.
That's it. Okay. Thank you for the correction.
January 16th. I want to let everybody know that January 16th, Baby Doll will be here with her husband, Chad Berg.
Yep.
And just a few days later, on the 21st, and I mistakenly said, somebody pointed it out, and thank you to that listener that pointed this out. It will be our third WWE Hall of Famer, Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant.
It's our third.
The third Hall of Famer on the show. And that's going to be an exciting episode because we've got, and Boogie doesn't know this yet, but we got Davey O'Hannon going to do a run-in.
And a couple other possibilities.
Oh, yeah, a couple other things. We're floating some stuff around we can't talk about just yet.
Yeah. So we got Baby Doll, we got Jimmy Valiant. Who else have we got coming up there? I know you got a couple of them.
Cowboy Johnny Mantell. We've got Barbara Goodish, Mrs. Bruiser Brody.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be a good show. We have, I'll tell you right now, real quick, check our schedule. And we have, oh, my God, look. Yeah, we've got a lot of people coming. We've got, Jason Nupp is coming back.
Yes, sir.
The action figure and toy collectible guy.
Our second most downloaded episode, it's our second most downloaded episode, if I'm not mistaken, is the one with Jason.
We have the Old School Empire, Patch and Big Vinny the Fixer, on the 28th of January. We have a special episode right at the start of the new year, January 7th. We are doing a social media breakdown. We're going to have the head of the Facebook Wrestling Fans page. His name is Shane McKenna.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure I got his name right. Shane McKenna. He'll be with us for the whole show to talk about social media and wrestling and the effect on one another. We've got Ron the Shining Star.
Former WCW.
From Matt Tremont from CZW.
Yep. And Matt, by the way, Breaker Morant.
Yes.
I saw a match recently. I went and I checked out the promotion you told me to check out.
Yes.
And Breaker Morant had a match against Dirty Money, and Dirty Money is very well associated with VCW.
Yes.
Just to let everybody know. I'm just putting that out there.
There is a connection there for sure. Let's see, so February looks like Cowboy Johnny Mantell, Ron Starr, Matt Tremont. January, just to wrap that up, is the Old School Empire, Jimmy Valiant, Baby Doll, Jason Nupp, Social Media Invasion, and we're of course, by popular demand, we're bringing back Davey O'Hannon.
Yeah.
And we're waiting to hear on that special guest that you and I spoke about.
Yeah.
Who we're not even allowed to talk about right now.
Right. And we got Mr. Electricity.
Oh, and Steve Regal. Yes, I need to firm up a date on him.
Yeah, we're I'm in the process of firming that one up. He is more or less kind of said when we want him to give him a heads up, and he'll, a couple days heads up, and he's ready to rock. So
okay, well then we'll do that when you and I get off the air. We'll figure that one out. So let me just tell everybody before I tell you where to reach us and how to find us, I got to give a shout out to our amazing sponsor, Al Forno Pizzeria and Restaurant. They are at 1523 Holland Road in Suffolk, Virginia. So if you're in the Norfolk, Suffolk area,
even Virginia Beach,
it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Norfolk, folks. I want you to go there. It's Al Forno Restaurant and Pizza, and I want you to see Nunzio. He's my buddy. He's my paisan. And I want to shout at Nunzio, ¿cómo está? Muy bien. They've got all the standards, the spaghetti and meatball. They've got lasagna. They've got manicotti. But they've got stuff that nobody's got. They've got seafood Alfredo, pasta primavera, stuffed cannelloni with Alfredo sauce. That's Jeff's favorite. He's smiling. And Jeff is there every Friday night, usually like clockwork. So if you want to meet Jeff the Ref in person, it's easy. Spend a couple of bucks on a slice of pizza. Look for the guy in the corner hiding behind the menu. And that's Jeff the Ref Robinson. And I want everybody to know you can reach Nunzio at his restaurant. You call him and set up a reservation or go in and tell him what you want. 757-925-2829. Once again, they are at 1523 Holland Road in Suffolk, in Virginia. He should be in New York, but what do I know? He's in Virginia.
Hey.
So now, with that out of the way,
yep,
you can reach us, as Jeff said, at Wrestling Future on Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com, Wrestling with the Future. You can email us at wrestlingwiththefuture@yahoo.com. We will take your questions and comments there, or just feel free to comment on any of our social media pages. If you have any suggestions for guests, by all means, drop us a note and let us know who you'd like to see on the show.
I'll say this, if they are associated with the WWE or under contract, we probably will not be able to get them.
Well, speaking of the WWE, that's about as much as I can say about that guest.
Yeah. We heard an opinion about them earlier, didn't we?
Most certainly we did, from C.W. Anderson.
Yeah.
Who held nothing back.
Yeah. All right.
And if there's nothing else, Jeff, tell everybody you can also reach us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean. On the road and on the go, we are wherever you are.
And even on the planet Mars.
Yep, and in the, like Jeff likes to say, in the fillings in your teeth.
There you go.
So, for Jeff the Ref Robinson, I am Psychic Medium Angelo signing off. Happy wrestling, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. And Feliz Navidad from our producer, Latino Heat.